Hey guys, Duchess Braids here and welcome back to my channel. So today we have my sister here and we're doing a pretty interesting style on her today. So I'm going to be doing a half and half with, in the back we're going to have a sew-in, and then at the top we're going to have some braids going into a ponytail, and that ponytail I'm going to put some of the weave onto the ponytail for you guys. So I'm going to show you guys how I do that. But first I'm starting out with her hair washed, and I went ahead and sprayed some heat protectant on her hair from Beyond the Zone. Then I went in with my Babyliss Pro blow dryer and blew her hair out as straight as I can get it. And now I'm going in with my handy dandy precision comb from DuchessBraids.com, and we're gonna part her hair out. Of course, you know I'm gonna start with the middle part first, and then I'm gonna use that as a guide to go from the middle to the ear, and that's gonna allow me to have a more precise definition of where I want her sewing to be at the back. Do I want her ponytail to be more towards the back? Do I want it to be more towards the top of her head or more forward? So that's what the middle part does, and these two side parts do as well, is just to kind of let me know where I want things to go. So then after I figured that out, now I'm going in with a small section that I'm going to be braiding down, but I want it to be tiny because if I make this braid big, that means the sewing at the top is going to be big as well, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna part out like a really small portion around that back, the circle of the back, and then I'm gonna just braid it out the way. So I'm gonna keep braiding. I'm gonna show you guys how I do the braid down, and I am adding hair because I do want this foundation to be pretty strong. And you guys know, like, when you add some type of extension hair, it does help the braids to last longer and to be stronger, because we're not putting a net on back here. We're just gonna jump right into sewing it in. So the extension hair pieces, not too much, I just add a few strands, and then once I'm about to run out, then I add one or two more strands again, and to keep it going. So I'm gonna braid this in a circle at first. I'm gonna probably braid about 2 circles. And what I've noticed is whenever I'm doing a foundation with like a beehive, a full beehive, there tends to be tension in the center, and I don't like when my clients get up in there having tension or headaches from a beehive. So I like to break the beehive up by in the center. Once I get to the center, I start braiding it up and down, up and down. And so that's gonna allow for the pressure that normally gathers in the center of a beehive to be released. So instead of going full on with the beehive, I broke it up. I only did 2 circles, and then I broke it up and started braiding down and lifting the end of the previous braid into the braid next to it. And I did that on both sides until I got to the middle, and then I was left with, you know, just one braid in the center. And once I got to that center braid, I ended up pulling up the 2 pieces of the ends on both sides into that center braid, which you guys are going to see pretty soon. So this is my last braid on the right hand side. I already did the left hand side of this beehive situation right here, and now I'm gonna go into the last braid after I'm done braiding this last piece out. So this is my final braid in the middle, and I'm going to braid it down, and then you guys are going to see me lift up the leg on the right and the leg on the left of the previous braids, and then I'm just going to braid those into it. And then once I'm left with the tail end, I'm going to go ahead and sew that down. All right, so now that I've finished that part, I'm going to line it up around and just go in with my needle and thread. And again, I love to use a nylon thread. I find them to be much stronger and more reliable, and they're a little bit finer, so they don't really rip through the client's hair like the cotton threads would. They're just a much better, safer option, not only for your client's hair, but also to work with. Once you get used to working with it, it's just a much better thread to work with, and it doesn't really knot up the client's hair. You know, if you've had sewn in for a while, then sometimes the thread just gets into your natural hairs, almost becomes a part of it. Well, this nylon thread doesn't do that. It's easy to kind of like cut it out and, you know, do your thing. So now I'm going in with the hair. So we've used this hair before, I believe. I'm not even going to say the brand's name because one, we're not collaborating, and two, I don't want to get it wrong. So I don't want to lie to you guys and say it's from a brand that I don't remember, but I have used this hair before in her hair. So if you guys look at my previous videos, you might be able to find this hair. So she did take it out and she washed it, and now we're reusing it. And it looks healthy. It's still good. One thing about this hair though is that the weft is super thick, and so with it being super thick, it's not foldable. And sometimes I do like to fold the hair instead of cutting and, you know, cutting into it a whole bunch. I do like to fold it over where I can, and if I have to cut it, I will. I have no issues with that. But as you guys can see, I'm double knotting each turn. So that's what I like to do to ensure that whatever sewings that I'm doing, I push it under, I pull the needle through halfway, and then I wrap it at least twice before pulling the needle out and making a knot. So that is for every stitch that I do. I'm always going to double knot it, and then when I get to the last and final stitch, that's when I go in with like maybe a triple knot, just to make sure that it's secure. And even after I do a triple knot, I cut the thread and then I tie it again at least once or twice. So my sewings do not fall out at random when I'm doing it, because you just want to make sure that everything is secure. So now you guys saw that I went upwards with my first what do you call that? With my first piece of extensions, my weft. I went around and up the circle past her ear, and that's on purpose because I want the hair, since we're not going to leave any of her natural hair out in this sewing to cover it up, I just want it to fall forward and to be hidden. But we're going to run into some issues with this, and I'm going to show you guys at the very end how I'm able to fix it so that the weft is not showing. So you're going to see throughout this whole thing that once I start braiding that, oh, the weft is showing a little bit. And yeah, I'm going to show you guys at the end how I was able to fix it to make sure like the weft is not showing, because I was freaking out just like, because the weft is so thick on this hair that I was not able to do like a seamless sewing for it like I like to. And so the weft was showing it, and that bothers me to like, I don't like that. That's just not what I would want my client to walk out with. But if you, you know, pay close attention, you can see the direction that I sew the hair in. And of course, I went upwards past the ear. And then from there, I started just kind of going across in like a half moon direction with the rest of the weft until I got to the top. And then I just kind of made that last and final weft going across the top. So right now we're at the weft where it's just going in that half oval, half moon situation, going keep going up, just like that until everything is covered. And now that I'm at the tippity top, I'm gonna go straight across that top, and I'm gonna go straight across that last piece of braid as well that you can see sticking out. I'm not gonna leave it like that. Of course, I'm gonna put at least one more on top. So my intentions is for the hair that I'm gonna be putting up in a ponytail, it's going to be curled and fluffy. My intentions is for that to cover most of the weft that is out that you can see, right? So you guys can see plain as day. And this is how the hair looks, you guys. It's really long, it's really thick, it has a really nice texture to it. And so I'm just brushing it out, and then I'm gonna jump right into the braiding. So we had all intentions of doing, I'm sure, smaller, cuter braids, but we be getting tired, y'all. And so we were like, let's just do 3 braids, make it cute. And so we're gonna do 3 stitch braids at the top, and then in between it we're gonna do some smaller braids, just kind of like filler braids. You guys will see, just to make the style look better, but also fill in so that the braids that the 3 braids I'm doing are not super huge. They also have some, like, you know, just not so big. So that's what we're doing. So this is the size of the first braid that I'm gonna be doing, and I parted that out, and then I start coating both sides of it with the Neat Braids gel. And I'm just gonna comb that out with the Duchess Braids Precision Comb. I'm gonna form it to where I want my braid to go. So whenever I coat both sides, once I start to form it, I'm basically pushing it up to where I want my braid to follow. So I'm pushing on both ends, and then I not like to part like in the center and put some gel in the center as well. So that's just gonna help it not be too dry in the middle. So now that I've kind of directed my braid on where I want my braid to go, then I'm going and I part 2 layers, and then I'm just gonna start braiding. And as you can see, the first part, I broke that up into 3 pieces, which is my 3 legs. And then I just went into braiding. I'm gonna add the hair now. So I'm pulling the hair off the rack. It's a smaller piece. So I want whatever extensions I'm adding in to be as small as one of my braiding legs, okay? If you've been following me for a while and watch my videos, I'm pretty sure you've heard me say that before, but for all my newcomers and my new followers, whenever I'm adding any type of extensions in, whenever I add it in, I don't want it to be much bigger than my braiding legs. And everyone knows that you have 3 braiding legs throughout the whole process. So take one of those legs, look at how much hair is in that, and then when you're adding the piece to it, make sure it's not much bigger than that leg. Okay, so as I'm going, I'm stitching, I'm using my pinky finger and I'm just braiding. I hold, I part with my pinky, I put it between my thumb and my pointer, I'm holding, and then I add the hair. So I stitch first, add the hair, braid, stitch first, and I'm always adding the hair when my right hand, which is my dominant hand, is holding the braid. So whenever my right hand, my dominant hand, so if your left hand is dominant, hold it with your left hand and add the hair in with your right hand. But if you're like me, then you're holding with your dominant hand, which is your right hand. You reach for the extension hair with your left hand, and then you add it in to between your thumb and your pointer, and you just continue to braid. So I'm braiding this out, but I'm not going to need the whole thing. I just need to know where her natural hair ends on this, because I'm going to end up cutting it later on, which you will see. So this is the first braid, and as you can see, the sewing at the back, you can clearly see the weft, and don't let that bother you too much because we're going to fix that at the end. So now I'm going in with the filler braids, y'all. These are some tiny braids that, you know, it makes the style super cute, but sometimes it could just be helpful to make sure the braids aren't so big, and make sure if you have braids that won't be proportional, it helps to eliminate that by just throwing one of these in, and it's always a spruce up to the style. So don't be afraid to add one of these filler braids or small tiny stylish braids in between. And for me, again, I never really add any extension hair to these braids, especially if the client has really nice or full enough hair to where I don't need to add it. If your client has really thin hair where it's gonna look super small, super tiny, I would add a little bit of extension hair to it. But honestly, like, it's very rare that you come across a client that needs you to add any type of extension hair into these small braids. So I started out with 2, thinking that, okay, this might be good. But then once I looked at how my third braid would look and how thick it would be, I ended up, you know, adding 1 more on each side. So I'm going to be left with 3 small filler braids by the end of this. But I went to the other side to kind of part out the other braid on the right hand side of her head, and I'm just gonna braid it just like you guys saw me braid the first one. I'm coating both sides with the gel, and then I'm gonna mold it up into where I want my braid to go, you know, looking back and forth sometimes so that I can get a guide for my first braid, so that I'm not braiding these differently, because it does need to be symmetrical. So I mold it up where I want my braids to go, and then I like to part in the center and add some gel to the center so that it's not super duper dry there once I start braiding. And this really helps with keeping the hair molded. And then I went ahead and parted and started braiding with my 3 legs. And like I said, I like to stitch first, add hair while I'm holding with my dominant hand. So yeah, that's what I continue to do repeatedly. And how much hair I add in is based on the amount of leg that I'm holding. So I like to kind of match it up. As you can see in the back, I didn't pre-share the hair that I'm adding in. I just kind of have a batch of hair laying on the rack and then I just pull from it. That takes some practice and some time once you know how much hair you need to add in. However, like, you know, you just kind of pull from it and keep on going. And it just depends on how thick I want the hair to be or how thin I want it to be. And I just kind of go off that in how much hair I'm adding, especially at the end. When I get to the end is when I can add a little bit more. But you guys can see the braid starts off smaller and gets a little bit thicker at the back. And that's kind of what you like to see. Is for it to start off smaller and then gradually you can see it naturally gets larger. You can't really tell that I was adding in hair into it. You're not supposed to see the added hair. That's why you don't want to add a whole huge clunk in it while your legs, your braided legs are super small, and you know you're adding like these huge amount of extension in it. It's not going to look naturally done. So now I'm at the ponytail end and I'm using rubber bands to kind of tie off the ponytail a little bit. So I'm going up to where I feel like her hair has ended, or where I know it has ended, and I'm just using the rubber band to tie it off because we're going to be putting a ponytail on these braids, y'all. I know this is a little bit different, but that's what we're going to be doing. And so I'm just cutting off that the ends, and then I'm going to wrap it with this wrapping paper, and this is going to protect her hair from the glue that I'm going to be adding. So I'm not going to be sewing on this ponytail. I'm going to be gluing it on because it's much faster, much easier, and just a little bit more reliable. So see, I'm able to bend it and move it. So the easiest way to add on to a glue ponytail is to throw the glue onto the hair. I can't believe there were days when I used to try to add the glue onto the weft itself and then wrap it around. Like, this was such a game changer to just throw the glue onto the ponytail and then just wrap the hair. And you don't even have to go all the way around. It's gonna stick. So once you start wrapping around in a circle, it's going to stick. So that's what I did all the way up. And as you can see, there are some braids that's wrapping around the ponytail. That's just used some of the weave. I plaited it and then I wrapped it around the ponytail. And now I'm going in with my wand and I'm just wrapping it up, putting some curls in it. And at this point you can still see the weft right where the weft is. Right between the braid and the back of her hair, you can see the weft. So this is what I did, y'all. So I went through with a crochet needle and I found some hair that's pretty much disposable, not needed, and I just added it into the crochet needle and I pulled it through to the front. And I did that for a few pieces, guys. So that allowed for the weft to not be shown. It looks way more natural. You can't really tell. So that is what I did to hide the weft. And yeah, that's how I was able to get the final results. I went through and just kind of pulled the hair out from the wand. Sometimes the wand can be difficult to use and you never know what curls you're gonna get if you use it the wrong way. But this is the final look, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this style. If you learned something new, especially let me know in the comments if I taught you anything new in this video. If you love this style and if you want to continue watching my videos, let me know. Thank you guys so much again for watching, supporting, holding me down for all this time. And for my newcomers, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you can get these videos when they drop. I don't have a scheduling for my videos, so go ahead and thank you guys. Bye.